Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Fantastical Careers with Kelly Bertinelli. Today, I'm going to interview the lovely Alina Fairhaven. Alina, thank you for joining us.
Of course, it's so great to be here. Thank you, Kelly.
And if I can take just a moment before we dive in, I just want to catch the listeners up on how we met because most guests, I generally have at least gotten the opportunity to kind of do like a pre-interview, or we've known
Mm.
each other in the past, but I actually
Mm.
just met Alina this past weekend. I was covering the 12th annual Underground Goblin Horticulture Convention, and frankly, I just had to get some fresh air. No offense, no offense intended to the hosts, who were delightful, of course,
Of
and
course, of
had
course.
great quarters for the press who were attending. But my species needs more oxygen. So I went on a hike, enjoying the mountain air, and bumped into this gorgeous woman.
Oh, you're too
Alina.
kind, too
Her
kind.
hair was perfect, and she was singing, and it seemed like even the birds were listening. So we struck up a conversation, but that attracted the attention of a giant passing troll who chased us into this teeny tiny cave. Thankfully, it couldn't get in, but we couldn't get out. And
Oh.
that's where our guest just surprised me. She took this deep breath and let out this incredible shriek, which I'm sure was heard 10 kilometers away. And then she passed out right there. And I was trying to figure out what to do, but all of a sudden, two knights, a prince, and a handsome blacksmith appeared. They took care of the troll, and we were back in town in time for supper. So, needless to say, that was a pretty exciting introduction to Alina. But after some discussion, I found out that she is a damsel in distress. So, Alina, tell us about how you got started in that unique job.
Of course, of course. It is unique. Well, I grew up in a small valley near the Unmisty Mountains, and I'm the youngest of four kids. Growing up, my dad is the local wizard, and my mum is a real estate agent, so nothing interesting ever happened, and the best a local girl could become was a shepherdess, or a cook, or an architect. One of my friends was actually very determined to be a princess, and she kissed over 400 frogs and never got anywhere. So I I knew that I wanted something very different for my future. So I started putting out applications, and eventually I got an internship with a dragon in the Enchanted Forest.
Oh, in the Enchanted Forest.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
So you say you started with an internship. I always like to get these details
Mm.
straight,
Mhm.
because some require schooling, but it sounds like this you
Mhm.
went straight into an internship. So
Oh,
how did
yes.
you get an internship with a dragon?
Well, it's very interesting. Did you know dragons are actually rather introverted? And, but they like their shiny things. So it is actually very common, and girls take note, it's very common for an average middle class dragon to hire a girl to come and be their housekeeper, secretary, and polish all the treasure, keep the cave tidy, spray for ants, etc., and then pretend to be in distress and enhance their fearsome reputations. The stipend I got was exceptional, and practicing fainting onto dragon treasure was invaluable, Kelly. It hurts almost as much as tiny gnome bricks, and once you can faint onto that, you can faint onto anything. Charlotte, my dragon boss, was in her 700s and was really patient and knowledgeable about what I needed to do to succeed, and the education on how to look in distress with limited effort was invaluable. And when a dragon roars, it's just kind of natural to look terrified, you know? So now it's just muscle memory. But after my internship, I really just branched out on my own and read a few good scrolls and learned how to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and developed a really useful tone in my shriek. That's what you heard before. Learned how to fence, memorized how to say help in 19 languages, including 3 dialects of Elvish. And by the end of my first season, I had been rescued 14 times, which happens to be a local record.
That's phenomenal. So you were already setting
Yes,
records at the very
I don't
beginning.
go halfway on anything.
You said that there are seasons at the
Mhm.
end of your first season. So If you're in the freelance category for income, are you actually able to make ends meet
Yes,
in between
actually.
seasons?
I actually am. I'm doing quite well. It's every time you get saved, you get carried home to the town of the hero where there are parades, presents, and ribbon cuttings in your honor. So
Mm.
no one makes you pay because they're all sorry for you, right? And they get to write it off on their
Oh,
taxes.
that's convenient.
So they'll just give and give. But you get to meet a lot of
Mm.
influential people who inevitably invite you to stay with them in their castle until your next job. So sometimes a town needs a beautiful maiden to be thrown before the lions to entice a hero from another town to come save her. Those are usually the most lucrative jobs, and I just feel good for supporting the local communities. But I do also have a side hustle at the moment. Just got started of being unicorn bait.
Uh, Unicorn bait. That sounds dangerous. How does that make you money?
Mhm. Well, it's not that dangerous actually. I sell the unicorn tears.
Oh.
Sometimes yes, yes. They're very, very popular right now. And sometimes the unicorn will give me a free ride and that'll save me on taxi fare. Or they'll lead me to an enchanted pool of healing waters, which is also quite lucrative. But only a maiden pure of heart can get near a unicorn. So when I'm running low on cash, I just go sit on a rock, away from everyone because they won't come around if anyone else is near you. So I'll just go sit on a rock. I'll sigh a few times, and then usually a unicorn they'll just come up to you and just put their head in your lap,
Hmm.
and it's so sweet. Oh, I love
Oh.
them so much. But it's extremely lucrative. The tears, the healing waters, you can just bottle those up in small little bottles, and a small little bottle will bring you quite a sum. But I know a fellow damsel in distress who specializes in procuring unicorn assets, and she's doing very, very well. Six figures.
That's remarkable. So it sounds like there are different
Hmm.
specializations almost that you can go into as a damsel in distress. Okay,
Yes,
fascinating.
yes, absolutely,
Well, that
absolutely.
sounds like a career any young woman should consider.
Yeah, well, not just young women though. Kelly, there's really no age limit to this. We all think of young women usually when we think of a damsel in distress, but I know a lady in her 80s who just started her career recently, and in 2 weeks, she's been rescued 5 times and had 2 marriage proposals. So there's really no age limit at all. So if if you're a little older, don't think like it's passed you by because it hasn't. It hasn't at all.
So, young and old women. Well, the clock is counting down, but I have two more
Of
questions
course.
that our listeners might be interested in. Number one, what
Hmm.
does retirement look like?
Well, actually, I plan on retiring next year.
Oh,
The dragon I did my internship with, she was an accounting wizard and she had huge interest in the stock market. But she taught me a lot. So I ended up investing very early on several companies that have just made it so they've made it big. They've just skyrocketed. Like glass slippers, magic beans, and then did you ever hear about poison apple antidotes?
oh,
They've really just done so well.
I did actually, and I must admit I have several in my cupboard right now. Uh, okay, so question number two. I noticed on your resume that
Mhm.
after your name you have the initials IDID. I did. Can you explain
Yeah,
what that
yes,
means to
I
the
did.
audience?
Of course, of course. So most professionals fall under one of two camps. They're either headed or I did. I did is an acronym for Independent Damsel in
Mm.
Distress. So it means we work freelance and we're always looking for work. Headed stands for Happily Ever After Damsel in Distress, which is when you get saved once and then you never go back. So it's a one time deal. There was a girl in the small provincial town next to me who was a great example. She got in some distress due to her father being captured by a beast in a castle, and by the time the whole thing was straightened out, she lived happily ever after. I mean, it was an epic story, but ideas are usually we're addicted to adventure, and so we cram in as much as we can get. You know what I mean?
Well, you definitely sound like you lead an exciting life.
Oh, I try. I try.
Well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed hearing from Alina today. My comprehension of the difficulties of being a damsel in distress have deepened, but also my understanding of the freedom and long-term financial stability it offers. So I hope young ladies and old will take notice.
Yes.
On behalf of our listeners, thank you for joining us, Alina.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Kelly. Thank you so much for having me.
If you have any comments or questions about the show or want to suggest a guest, please reach out to me via whatever contact method is available on your home planet. And I hope to hear from you. I read every message that I receive personally. Until next time, I'm Kelly Bertinelli, inviting you to think deeply about new occupations on Fantastical Careers with Kelly Bertinelli.